I feel like when it comes to Rewritten updating their game, they always hit it out of the park. I know it's really not that often, but when they release something, they always strive for quality over quantity. Usually, most of their updates are either follow-ups to other events, like an older update, but making it way better from the original. However, that doesn't mean everything they make is good, and I feel the most something that's ever been hyped and being just really disappointed is the Sillymeter update. But why don't I like this update, you might ask? Well, let's go back to where it all began. Back in 2017, a video called The Source of Silliness came out talking about the Sillymeter and a brand new task with it in the pet shop. It had a brand new task for the Sillymeter, and players were also tasked to look for Fluffy himself. After, no joke, a year later, these two toons called the Fizzentons and Dr. Sir Lee next to the Sillymeter under the final plan. Really all you can do was just walk into there and talk to them, and that was pretty much it. After this, a video called Incoming Transmission from LL Terminal 26 was uploaded to the TTR YouTube channel for Looney Labs. There was a password and username for this regarding the Sillymeter. Using username 26 and password 3 questions will give you answers of the final plan. On April Fool's Day, they said that Dr. Sir Lee needed 2.6 million silly particles for the Sillymeter, and when they got that, I kept thinking,
really?
After this, we are greeted by a brand new toon task, and for some areas to find the card, being Racing, the Factory, Acorn Acres, and other areas. I have to say, this is a pretty clever way to spice things up rather than defeat a cog, get a fish, or get jelly beans, but it's all worth it to get a cardboard cutout of Surly. I am proud of what this game has become. After this, nothing really much happened other than Toonfest 2018 when they revealed that Sillymeters would be getting newer features and wouldn't be useless like they were in Toontown Online. In Online, on April Fool's Day, it would just give you a higher jump, make doodles talk, and make you have a boost when you're near a fire hydrant or mailbox with gags. Now they would actually have use here when the Sillymeter reached its max. It would let people have an advantage in the game. Teams with fish decrease rarity, doodle tricks, speedy garden growth, laugh increase, double XP on beans, teleport access, and racing tickets. Things like gardening, doodle tricks, and getting tickets in the game are really grindy, so it was really nice to make this more easier to get. Alongside that, they would also be replacing the Toon Hall with the Toontown 2.0 Toon Hall as well, and a new page for the sticker book for the Sillymeter update. This was all amazing and seemed really promising on what they set to do for this update. And after Toonfest, we basically got nothing. Only, 7 months later, we got the update with short videos on the Sillymeter. After a few days of videos, we were coming about the Sillymeter. However, while all this was going on, 3 developers from Toontown Offline finished the update in just 2 days. The entire dev team remade the entire Sillymeter update before Rewritten did. You can see Ben, John, and Eris remade the entire update with the music, Toon Hall, sticker book, and everything that was set to be in this update in just 2 days. The people who made this also had it open source, so it's time we check this out. Going into it, it really doesn't feel all that much different besides the Sillymeter features. They added the Toon Hall, but the NPCs don't really give you any tasks, but that's really fine. We're only here for the main Sillymeter feature. The Sillymeter features work as they would in Toontown Rewritten. It's basically the Sillymeter in Toontown Stride. The way you get silly points also work here as they did in Toontown Rewritten, like fighting cogs, doing races, fishing, bosses, they're all present here. Something interesting I found was the remote control from the field office reward. I'm assuming they were gonna finish this feature, but it was just abandoned. They had healing, damage, and confusion. It doesn't really do much except just uses a fire, but this is pretty cool in what they tried doing. And that's really it. This was really cool and impressive that they did this all under 2 days. After Ryno's video, yeah, this really didn't help Toontown Rewritten at all. It more so added fume to the fire, but I really don't blame these people because the Toontown Offline team got this out in just 2 days, and Toontown Rewritten took 1 year with this update. I'm not even saying finish the update in just under 2 days. It would probably take you guys maybe 3 months at most with hype, RNG, and promotion. Next, they had the second part in the Fizzingtons comic book, or webcomic book, and this one would be the end of them as they would die, and my reaction towards it was, "Oh, what? They died." Look, I'm sorry, I really don't care if these guys are dead. Like, I know they were main characters and they were important, but it wasn't like Slappy, Surly, Dim, Loudon. It's just really okay, honestly. You gotta understand, we were just introduced to these characters, and for them to die just a few months later really doesn't mean all that much. It's like, we were just introduced to these characters. It would have helped if it was a character we known from the game like years ago, or have been in the game since 2003. It really doesn't affect us when it's just characters we just know. It's like, what if I killed my best friend Jean? Wait, what? You probably wouldn't even care at all since you just got to know him and you have no clue who he was. Finally, the update had come. After all this wait, all this time, my thoughts on the update were... well, that was disappointing. I mean, what do you want me to say to this? It's because the amount of time it took made my expectations high, and I can't blame anyone else who had the same opinion with me. I really like this starter task, since this pretty much shows you where to get silly points from this update. It shows what teams are there for the week, who won, and your stats. Something else that was added to this was when a silly search happened, say like in a boss, they would overload with silliness and would just automatically die. Cogs would also say a message and they just can't handle the silliness and just would all be destroyed. And when you were in a playground or an area, you would basically start to float in mid-air. This, in my opinion, seems like a really nice touch, and it could have easily not been added. So, how about the teams? That's what we came here for, the teams. These all help you benefit with the game and make life much more easier. The problem is, the teams really aren't that good. Now, the double gag XP, I wish I could talk about, but just look at this graph that was sent by me by Supermouse. Yep. Not once did the gag XPs really win except sound once and drop 2 times. This is in 37 weeks of the silly teams being in there, and gag XP is just rotting there. This is my first problem with the silly teams, useless rewards. I think gag double XPs are dumb rewards because you know why? You could just get them from invasions or just from factories. If you want to make them worth a damn, maybe try making it triple or maybe quadruple. Actually, better yet, just make them all the gags and triple them when you use them. Then I'm sure people would want to love choosing this team for the week. Moving on, double racing tickets are very useful. They help with getting tickets for new carts. It's too bad this reward doesn't get used all that much since it's only been won 3 or 2 times before. Doodle trick boosts. Now, this I'd imagine thought in theory would work. However, it's not as good as even having the boost at all. Okay, so from these 2 clips alone, tell me which one is the boost and tell me which one is without the boost. Here's a little help. It's slightly better, but I found a pattern that would work. It would vary from 2 times, maybe even 3 times in a row, but it was really random. I wish doodle tricks would have been less boring and would respond every time you click on a trick. I don't know how much easier this is, but dang, it really does feel like the exact same thing. Global teleport access. This is really useful for the people who haven't already beaten the game. But this is really useful for only COG HQs. Some of you haven't even gotten to like Bossbot or Lawbot yet. Other than that, it's really alright if you haven't beaten the game, but if you're still making progress, but if you already beat the game, this really isn't useful for you. Double jelly beans are something I really don't care for all that much. It's cool for trolley and bean fests, but for me, so long, I really don't need this since I have like over 10,000 beans just lying around. It's good for bean fests though, but I'm never gonna use this. Speedy garden growth was the one thing I was hyped for. Gardening is such a chore, but what's already worse is you can only do it once for the day. I was expecting it would regrow maybe 2-3 hours, but 6? I mean, by the time it's 6 hours, I've already gone and forgotten about this and moved on with my day. It's annoying how people were hyping this up, and it was barely useful. I mean, it's alright if you're really trying to finish gardening, but I'm not gonna play Toontown for 6 hours a day. Well, Overjoyed, this one is alright. It gives you 8 extra laugh boosts for your tune. It's possible to actually have a 145 laugh tune. I like this boost, but it feels a little helpful if you're playing the game, especially to the progress throughout the game. I feel like this is a little necessary if you're trying to beat the game or still finish it. The final one, fish rarity. This is the most popular one. This is a very useful one since it makes things getting like the devil ray and other rare fishes easier to find. Fishing is usually a chore to do to find rare fishes, but this one will help you 100 times more with this boost. All I gotta say is, this is the best one in the whole thing. The Sillymeter update overall felt meh, in my opinion. It didn't feel anything game-changing or something I'd revisit as much as I wanted to. Stuff like silly points being currency feels like a tease and something they could've do to add more replayability, but it was only just used as a joke. So what could be fixed with this? Not a lot, but number 1, get rid of gag XP silly teams. It would have been better if you made them all of the gags and make it triple or quadruple XP. This is something that would make people want to vote for it. Number 2, add things people would want to use, like double merits. That would be something. Make it like 4 times the merits. This would especially be useful if you're maxing bossbot or lawbot or cashbot suits. And 3, make the silly teams more useful and tweak them up a little bit. Make speedy garden growth every 2 hours instead of 6, or make doodle tricks work every time on the first try. These aren't hard additions I'm asking for. I'm not like saying make a new cog type or playground. This is something that can easily be done in 3 days.
Silly teams doesn't seem like a bad idea on paper, but the way it was executed was just not all that well done. Even having the boost, it really doesn't feel all that better than without having one. I just really hope one day they end up getting fixed. Will TTR end up fixing them? I really don't know, honestly, since, you know what, they're really transparent with updates. One minute they'll be talking about how they're announcing silly teams, and then the next minute they'll be doing field offices. So really, they're all over the place on what they want to fix next. Well, I guess we're finally done with this topic. Alright, all done. Now what's next?